chat here. There was a comment. I can hear you. Thank you, Elimination Portal. I really appreciate that. Sometimes it's hard to, it's like, who am I talking to out there? Anybody hear me? Anybody see me? Okay. Thank you for that reflection. All right, so let's go ahead and screen share the astrology. Let's look at the chart. And I wanted to share with you this really cool download, this way that I connect with the energy, because I also like using divination cards or oracle cards. It's just an added layer to what can be experienced right now, because I can come from the symbols of astrology and get my own downloads, but this is also a way I connect. We're still in the North Node in Pisces, right? So learning to connect with the unseen, with the mystical, perhaps with etheric pivot points that are not so much seen, but they're felt. Again, we've got Jupiter in Cancer right now, so it's all about feeling. We've also got this interesting configuration with the asteroids, with Eris and Pallas Athena and Black Moon Lilith. So let's just go ahead and take a look at that, because I wanted to share just the potency of this energy. And again, coming from this periphery, is that all is self. Make sure that you guys can see me okay. Yeah. And that everything is happening for us. So if you're new to the channel and you're here for the first time, thank you so much for being here. Welcome to livzenastrology, where we really do look at the periphery of consciousness through the lens of unity, right? That everything is happening for us, that there's nothing outside the collective field that's happening that's not happening deeply internally within us. And so what you're looking at right now is this particular wheel. It's telling us the new moon seed point here on December 19, 2025. It's at 8:42 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can see this is the symbol for the sun. This is the symbol for the moon, both at 28 degrees, 24 minutes. And it's right in alignment with what's considered in astrology, or what most astrologies are known as the Galactic Center, right? So think about the image of the spiral of the galaxy. That center point is at 27 degrees Sagittarius. And so, gosh, there's so much to talk about because there's so much change happening. I'm thinking of the movie Everything Everywhere All at Once. So we have this multi-dimensional periphery, because again, we've got Mercury in Sagittarius, half human, half man, our animal nature and our nature of consciousness, right? The human evolution of where we're moving towards, right? So there's this polarity and energy that's happening, but it's aligning us to our what? Everything Sagittarius. Let's talk about beliefs, philosophy, religion. I think of the inner explorer. I think of Indiana Jones, right? He's the archaeological aspect of us that's going back to the past to really denote who we are as the human consciousness, human species. And so perhaps with the way we're thinking in Sagittarius, also with Venus, the way we feel about values, love, connectedness, unity, beauty, right? These are all very higher octave Sagittarius, because Sagittarius is also co-ruled by Neptune. But with Neptune right now, there's a square happening with Saturn right now. You can see this is a symbol for Saturn, and it's conjunct Pisces within 4 degrees, both in Pisces, and it's squaring this energy. So squares mean that's considered in astrology a hard aspect or a challenging aspect. And all that means for me is that something needs to shift or change. What needs to shift or change? Saturn is about structure and time. Neptune is about our spirituality. And of course, it's squaring what? Our beliefs, what we learned in early education, what we learned in the earlier aspects of our childhood. And we can see right now, Uranus is actually, it's quincunx. So that means there has to be an adjustment to what Taurus in Uranus. Uranus is the electrical system. Taurus is the body. So not only is it holding, it's denoting change, but where we hold these beliefs in our body. And a very, it's almost like stuck energy. I think of nervous system, right? Things that maybe traumas or things we learned in the early part of our life that was stuck somewhere somatically into our nervous system that has been influencing how we think and what we believe to be true. But now this is where this interesting portal energy, this unknown variable, which I find so fascinating, that's transiting the sky during this already pivotal time, especially with the solstice approaching on December 21st, which our ancestors have marked as a very pivotal time. That's why there's still monolithic structures that are aligned to the solstice energy, which maybe you guys can put in the comments too, if you're probably more versed than I am. How come if supposedly in astrology, we have the precession of the equinoxes and there's a degree point that moves every 72 years. How come that we still have alignments with these planetary energies, with these monolithic structures during the solstice period? Like, what exactly is changing if we can still see the alignment happening that hasn't changed in all these hundreds of thousands of years? Again, this is our relationship to time. Have these structures really been here hundreds of thousands of years? Or even our concept of time, has that also been early education, right? And so what's clearing up is this mass confusion, this mass fog of energy concerning time and spirituality and belief about all this. Because with the architect, the architect, I say that the archaeologist of all of us is going back to exploring these old structures that supposedly were told there was a history of humanity, that maybe that is what's being revamped. This third eye consciousness, I keep calling it the third eye, Atlas, because Atlas, if you study the story of Atlas, he was the one that holds the earth, right? He holds the world on his shoulders. And then I think of Atlas too, it's a map, right? So where have we been holding the structures of belief that are collapsing away? It's like these beliefs are too heavy. They're falling away because we're rising into consciousness with our third eye to say, wait, what we've been taught about reality, timelines, Saturn, spirituality, Neptune, because it's a square that needs to shift. And Mars is coming in and saying, look, and it's out of bounds right now. Mars is considered out of bounds right now till January. So it's kind of a wild card energy. It's allowing us to think outside the box, think outside the structures of what early indoctrination through religion, through early education. Again, I'm looking at Gemini, but I'm also looking at Uranus, which is the highest octave of Mercury. Again, how we think. So there's this polarizing energy that's pulling apart these constructs, but it's happening for us. Again, I like to ask, what's right about this? And what's coming in for me, I would see as the unknown variable, the three-eye atlas is really pointing to, is this interesting energy with the asteroids, right? The divine feminine that's not really talked about, especially the asteroids in astrology, which I really have to shout out to Heather Ensworth, who is an astrologer, and she was talking about how she received a download with the asteroids and how the asteroids are split apart, right? It almost looked like there was these, because the asteroids have to do with what's surrounding our Earth, and that are broken apart pieces, asteroids. Maybe there were planetary energies in and of themselves that have been deconstructed, right? Put pieces, pulled apart in different pieces. So the pieces that are coming together to regrid the divine feminine, which is our magnetic field, by the way, because when I talk about masculine and feminine, I talk about the bioelectrical field that is who we are, right? So we are bioelectrical magnetic fields. The electrical part would be the masculine, and the magnetic is the feminine. So the pulled apart feminine in pieces that were considered asteroids in astrology, and thank you again, Heather Hensworth, that brought this into the awareness, is we have this interesting opposition. This is what's called white moon Selene, which nobody really talks about in astrology. She's sort of this interesting planetary female that is purity. She is who we were before we were debased, before the feminine was repressed or not given value, right? So this is who we were before that happened. And it's in Leo, right? The heart, which is divine creatorship. Fifth house matters, has to do with joy, pleasure, children, right? And so it's opposing what? Within 2 degrees, this Pallas Athena energy. Now, Pallas Athena, interesting story about her. She was born from Zeus, right? The father of the gods, but she was born from his head. So she wasn't born through a womb space. She was born from the intellect. And in Aquarius, it is about the higher mind. It has to do with frequency, vibration. It has to do with future technology. And so, how are we using the technology? Are we doing it fairly? Because she also, Pallas Athena, has to do with justice, right? She wants to make sure that there is fairness and justice. Again, very intellectual. And it's opposing what the heart, our inner instincts, what we know, the heart of the child, what we want to create. And so there's an opportunity, especially when you can pull. I don't look at oppositions as something to be negative or opposing forces to be a negative thing. I look at it as where can we complement, or where can we pull from each other's essence and energy so that we can bring unity and wholeness to this collective field. Now, you can see here during this time that Black Moon Lilith just went into Sagittarius. So Black Moon Lilith was the one that was discarded, right? Before there was Adam and Eve, there was Adam and Lilith. And she wanted to be Adam's equal. She was not going to be subjugated to him. And he wanted to subjugate her sexually. And she said, absolutely not. So she left the garden. So where have we been subjugated? This is the archetype of Black Moon Lilith. Where have we been subjugated in our beliefs, right? Where we were taught to have to believe something. This is what our family believes. This is what our families believe. This is what our church believes. This is what our science believes. And you have to believe that. So Black Moon Lilith is coming and saying, wait a minute, because again, there's this square energy. She's squaring off Ceres right now, which is how we take care of ourselves. This is the asteroid here in Eris. And so there might be, or I'm sorry, she's not squaring, she's trining that energy. So what I'm seeing is the trine is there's an opportunity to revalue how we take care of ourselves, how we take care of the earth. Ceres is the etymology, if you look at linguistics, it's the beginning of cereal, right? The grains, the harvest. I'm thinking of our food supplies, where Black Moon Lilith is like, look, we need to get back to the basics. We've been lied to even about our health, how we take care of ourselves, our food, entertainment purposes only. I'm inviting everybody that's watching this to look into the science behind glyphosate and how we put glyphosate in everything, which is really an antibiotic, which is really kind of killing off and creating all kinds of digestive issues in the gut biome, right? So this is the truth being told about our food systems, about the way we take care of ourselves. Again, beliefs about everything, guys, especially with Mars right there out of bounds. Belief about our governing system, who really is an authority. I see this, there's a stellium here happening. This is Cupido. Which is about our romantic relationships, the vertex, which is fated events. I believe this is, who is this? I'm still learning. Astrea. Okay, so Astrea, from what I understand, she's also an aspect where we were purity, and she decided to leave the earth, and she became a constellation in the sky because she was debased. She couldn't take the debasement of humanity anymore. And so she left. She left the field because she wanted to come back when our consciousness was cleaned up, when the divine feminine and masculine were no longer being debased by our actions. And then, of course, we've got Vesta, how we take care of ourselves, right? This is the heart of the Vesta, the home, the hearth. And so with Mars right now, it's asking for new structures of what? Foundational principles built on what we believe now to be true and not based on the past. So with this galactic center point, there's this interesting configuration that things have to leave our consciousness. They're being restructured, regridded. I think of also too like a scaffolding that had to be disintegrated and brought down for new structures, new scaffolding. But the action taken, the new foundations have to be based on where you are in your truth now, right now. And so this is an invitation too for those of you, because there's a square happening with Saturn, old structures and belief systems. Again, this is a sensitive topic, but Pisces has to do with religion, right? Religious authority. And so there's a square happening saying, look, perhaps the way you believed have kept you in certain structures or constructs of the mind that have kept you in a state of debasement or not accessing your inner authority. And Mars wants to come in and say, I want my own inner authority. I want the structures built for the future to last for the long term based on what I know to be true now, not based on all old constructs that were inherited, old belief systems that were configured to only empower those that were in charge, right? This is also Pluto in Capricorn, 2008. I'm thinking of that structure system, how all these structures had to collapse and fall. Well, now we've got Pluto in Aquarius, which is what structures need to collapse and fall. It's how we think. It's the architecture of our mind. It's the frequency that's been holding us in bondage through our own periphery, right? And that was, again, between the ages of 0 and 7. That's where a lot of our young kids are in the theta state. That's where we're programmed. What is it that I forget who quoted it, but says, show me the boy before the age of 7, and I'll show you the man, right? So this is also showing where our energy has been commandeered from early indoctrination that has been playing out in the projective field now as we are adults. And so that is what's being regridded and retimelined and restructured. But we have to let these things fall away. And so I don't even think we really have a choice at this point. I think conscious awareness is an invitation, because we do have free will. Again, free will has to do with will is Leo and the heart. If we can agree to unlearn, to relearn, and to drop what we think we know, because Sagittarius is coming in. I see it like a galloping, right? Like the galloping horses, because next year is the year of the horse in West and Chinese astrology, right? So we're already seeing the precipice of this horse energy, which just wants freedom. It wants to move, to roam around, to explore, to see, to feel. And if we've been constructed with thoughts in the mind, again, through early education, early indoctrination, the third eye atlas, right, where we've been held heavy, and where things, the atlas, the map of our mind is now being reconfigured. And we can see this on the world stage too. Look at all the earthquakes that are happening, guys, and the volcanoes and the geomagnetic shifts and the geographic shifts that are happening, that it's showing. Again, there's this correspondence with, as it is above, as so is below, that there's also these shifts in consciousness that have to happen for us. I think of neural pathways. I just did a video talking about the electric universe theory, and how it's actually going head to head with how our landscapes and mountainous ranges were not formed over years, millions and millions of years, as authorities have told us, but perhaps there's a revelatory new scientific approach to even how our landscapes were formed through the electric field theory, where there was an electric universe that happened, and it happened through the plasma body, right? And this is also something that's coming up with this whole reconfiguration. Pluto is bringing awareness to what plasma is, right? There's different states of matter and consciousness that haven't even been taught to us. And then when we do approach this subject, right, because more and more people are starting to wake up to, wait a minute, there's different states of consciousness, there's different states of matter that has to do with what? Water. This is also the big reveal with Saturn and Neptune, the power of water, and how it's a form of this plasma field, and how the plasma bodies, really the sun is not what we think. It's why is the sun, and you can look this up yourself. This is just something that's coming to my consciousness field lately, how when you approach the sun, it actually becomes cooler, right? So even the science from early education of how we've been taught about our reality is shifting and changing. This is what Pluto is coming in to disintegrate and to transform within us. So we've got to be open. And what I'm sensing with this openness in particular is the opening through some sort of ritual. Now, don't get offended, guys, with ritual. Some people, that's a trigger word for some people, especially if you're still in the indoctrination phase. Ritual could just mean like you have a ritual of brushing your teeth every morning, right? It's like, why not create a ritual between, especially this potent time period, this next 3 days? I'm going to go ahead and stop screen sharing now. Of allowing yourself to see yourself in a new way, a new periphery. Set up an altar, do a sacred fire, right? The solstice time, I mean, gosh, guys, our ancestors put up these giant monolithic structures for these potent time periods. There's portal windows that are opening. And there's no accident that it's happening in conjunction with this 3-eye atlas, whatever it is, with the new seed point in Sagittarius, with the alignment of the Galactic Center. It's almost like I'm thinking of Going live is nerve-wracking. Oh, thank you, Illumination Portal. Yes, it is. Um, Let me come back to now because I'm tuning into your energy. I feel you. I feel anybody now that's watching this is ready to have a new experience of this reality because it's happening anyway. So when you can invite in some sort of ritual to support you during your processes, thoughts about early education, what you thought you believed, the divine feminine that's coming up, she won't be repressed anymore, which is really the magnetic part of us. I think of where there's been almost like a deconstructing to reconstruct. And this is always the way it's been. This is the birth, life, and death cycle that's always been. Except death is not what we think. This is also very much Pluto. It's about transformation, transfiguration, a metamorphosis into new octave of human, of whatever it means to be human. Again, we've got the Sagittarius, half human, half horse. So it's really tuning into our animal instinctual nature, Mars, who's out of bounds right now, but it's in Capricorn, bringing new structural authority. And it's based on our own inner authority, our own inner knowing. And so, what I wanted to share with you was this interesting process because, again, I like to look at oracle cards. I like to work with crystals, essential oils, again, very earth. This is also very South Node Virgo right now, right? The tools of the earth to help you remember the frequency of truth that is embedded in the earth frequency. So when you work with the tools of the earth, grounding, again, crystals, right, today's Thursday, it's a Jupiter ruled day. So I'm wearing the color blue, which is very much about Jupiter and Zeus and expansion, right? So this is also lapis lazuli, which also has to denote with working with the throat chakra, right? So there's so many correspondences that I like to work with. But what was interesting, what came through and what I wanted to transmit today, I wasn't sure if I was going to, but I'm being called to right now. And for those that study astrology, this is one of my astrological, I call it the astrology Bible. It's called the Rulership Book. And what I find interesting, because I love linguistics, I've got South Node in Gemini, seventh house, so I love language, I love words. And this book, what it does is it brings you a correspondence. There's a word for every astrological symbol and energy field, right? So it's almost like a dictionary for astrologers. And what was coming through strong, so I was told to write across. So I'll just show you. I'll just be transparent with my process because I feel like this is the time for us to talk about our own inner authority, our own inner processes of how we connect to the divine, how we connect to these cosmic energies in our own unique way, and to share this now because all we are doing is uploading into the field and allowing others to get permission to tune into their own inner authority, their own inner knowing. You are doing amazing. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Illumination Portal. I appreciate you being here. So what I wanted to share with you is, okay, so Source had me do the cross of matter, right? So this is the figuration of Aries, Capricorn, Libra, and Cancer, right? The 4 cardinal points, because this is the direction that wanted to be looked at. And so I'm looking at, we looked at the astrology. I was like, okay, I want to see, I'm going to do a quick, this is also fun, right? Living in the mystery. I'm going to flip to the page where there's Sagittarius, Capricorn, Mars, Neptune, Pisces, Venus, because that's how it's also indexed, is through signs and through planets. And I just wanted to allow myself to, the first word that I saw in correspondence, because I think it brings in another energy, nuance to what wants to be channeled through in this particular vessel, right? This particular channel, because we're all channelers. I mean, some of us, have to perform ritual to connect to what they're channeling divine. I do that through breath and through intention. Again, before I even come on here, I set the intention that whoever receives this, whoever sees this, is meant to bring them empowerment, enlightenment, connecting more to their source self. So that's my intention. So when I was flipping through the book and I wrote down Sagittarius, I guess especially because it's new moon and it's the year of the horse, right? The word that first drew my attention was stables, racing, owners, and workers. And so when my consciousness first saw that, I thought stability, right? So Sagittarius is bringing stability to what? The next word I looked at in this rulership book. And by the way, if you guys want to get this, the rulership book, the author is Rex E. Bills. It's just kind of an older book. It's kind of hard to find, but if you can find it, if you're a budding astrologer or you want to work with these aspects, I really I really love this book. So going into the Capricorn, when I just flipped it and I saw the first word to Capricorn that was associated with it was contractors and convents, right? That was right next to each other. So and then in my consciousness, I heard building sacred spaces. So building sacred spaces within you. This is why we do ritual, or why we set up altars. You can kind of see this is my altar that's set up behind me. That it's and it's got the word trust, right? So that's my altar of consciousness, to trust the process of whatever's coming through, whatever wants to be seen, that there is a process to it. So I just need to trust my own inner knowing. So I set up an altar with that. The next word that I looked at through this rulership book was Mars. And the first word that my consciousness was drawn to was fireplaces. And then I heard places that ignite you. Okay. The next I looked at Neptune and Pisces. I thought was interesting. The words that were connected that I was drawn to when I just flipped open this book was fog, lethargy, and lenses. And then I like to go deeper. So I looked at the etymology of lethargy. And it actually comes from, I think, Greek or German, forgetfulness or oblivion. And then it means idle, not working, drowsy, or unnatural sleep. Okay. So the square happening with Sagittarius, where were we in forgetfulness, in the oblivion of consciousness, in the fog that we couldn't see clearly because of what? We were in some sort of frequency of unnatural sleep. This is why consciousness, they talk about waking up, right? What are we waking up to? We're waking up into a new reality timeline where things were foggy. And also another word for that, Pisces, has to do with lenses, how we see, how we perceive, literally what we look at. And if we're looking at reality through a lens that has been commandeered by a frequency, let's just say, that has kept us unnaturally asleep, then perhaps this is, the image is coming in right now, is like the princess is being woken up by the kiss, right? The sacred kiss. And the sacred kiss is the kiss of consciousness, third eye, the awakening, third eye Atlas, right? 3-eye Atlas. So let's keep going with this, because there's so many ways, portals of consciousness I can go through, but I really want to stick to this sort of transmission that came through organically, again, just by me asking questions, right? Taking the linguistics, the etymology, and then just allowing my consciousness to surf these waves unrestricted. Think of like the galloping horse, right? Where do I want to travel? The next word I was looking at, I looked up Venus, and the word that came through first when I just flipped the pages was capitalism. So again, we're looking at big industry, money, values, which also has to do with Venus is in Sagittarius right now. So looking at our capitalistic tendencies and our relationship to power. And what if, this is just a question, I'm just questioning this. What if capitalism in and of itself has this unnatural frequency tied to power, and why it seems that most people who get a lot of money or who are in positions of power also come to abuse their power or inner authority? And where has that been tied to capitalism? So this is just something to explore. Again, I'm not, this is just an exploration. This is just the psyche of astrology and the way that it comes through me. The next word that I wanted to look at when I was just flipping through the consciousness is Eris, right? Because I know that Aries is part of Aries, is ruled by Mars, which loves to be in Capricorn right now. We saw that square right now, and that trine happening with, I believe it was Eris, that's trining Black Moon Lilith. So she's helping us to heal. And what I found so interesting is the word that was associated with Aries in this rulership book that I was drawn to, that I was paying attention to, was called ferns. And I'm like, plants, ferns, what does that mean? So of course I deep dive even further, and I use AI technology. I'm like, give me the characteristics of ferns. What do ferns do? It's a plant, right? I think they're pretty outside. I've seen them in tropical forests. I've seen them in Florida, where I used to live. What I found interesting that I never knew was that ferns are not seeded. They're actually spored and they come from the ground. And you guys can go do your own inner deep dive right now, because I'm just getting channeling. I just kind of did this yesterday, so I'm just coming off of what I studied yesterday. But ferns, they have to go through water, and there's this process where they have to go through water to get incubated by the spore for it to come through, and then it starts unfolding almost like a spiral. And it almost looks like the Fibonacci spiral, right? The same spiral of the cosmos, of the universe that we are all part of in this galactic center point. So what came through really strong for me was, whoa, what if the consciousness is not seated anymore, but it's spored, like mycelium, like a mycelium network? And what if this is the evolution of consciousness, is the fern energy is showing us we're no longer seated, we are spored like mushrooms. And so that's the new evolution of consciousness. That's the new evolution of humanity, is that even how we are generated, we're not generated by seeds anymore. The germination is actually through spores, through mycelium, through mushrooms. And this is why people are starting to work more and more with mushroom medicine, right? And why we're starting to use mushrooms as a way of healing, because a lot of people who use mushroom medicine, and again, this is anecdotal. I would also invite you to do your own exploration, not just of psychedelic mushrooms, but lion's mane and reishi, right? The reparative ability to repair cognitive processes, how we see ourselves. Again, perception. So perhaps now we're perceiving ourselves through the mycelium network, not through the individuated seed itself. Again, this is just a shift in frequency and perspective, but this is an invitation to, again, see yourself in your own evolution in a new way. The next word I wanted to share with you was Saturn, because Saturn's involved with this, and Cancer. And Saturn, when I was flipping through this rulership book, the word I looked through, or what I saw, was vacant property. So that means that it's like the house system, right? We're being emptied of our old constructs of things. It's like when you're moving, you have to empty out the house to move. We're shifting properties, we're shifting locations, we're shifting, because Saturn rules structure. And so there's this big release process that's been happening in the mind, especially with the new moon, or the full moon that happened in Gemini, what was illuminated, thoughts that were occupying space that needed to be evacuated to make room for new spaces of consciousness. And the next word I was told to look at was Cancer, right? Because Jupiter's in Cancer right now. We know there as a dispositor energy, Jupiter is ruled by Sagittarius. It's in the sign of Cancer. So the word I thought was interesting too was chlorosis, CHLOROSIS. And I didn't know what that means, so I had to look it up. And what it means is when there is a lack of chlorophyll or light for plants, right? And so I'm like, oh my gosh, we're just talking about ferns in Aries. And now Cancer is saying chlorosis, which is basically when the plant is diseased because it's not getting enough chlorophyll, it's not getting enough light, right? So, and then it was just like, oh my gosh, this awareness was coming in. Again, we've been in the solstice period. We've been in the most darkened part of the cosmic energy field right now. And now here we are in the solstice approaching 1221, which is also an inversion, 12 and 21 inverted, but also both equal to 3. And 3 is ruled by Sagittarius, Jupiter. And when you add 3 and 3 together, that's 6. It's Venus, right? It's love. This is just how my mind processes. So we're coming into new light, and new light that we've never seen before. New light that is going to redesign this whole infrastructure of our reality and how we perceive reality, how we perceive what? Food, healthcare. I'm thinking of Pisces too, has to do with drugs and pharmaceuticals. Ceres, which is to do with the land and how we cultivate food, right? Monetary systems, this value, Venus, capitalism. Does capitalism serve consciousness anymore, especially the way it's been done? Because it seems to me like the infrastructure of capitalism is tied into power imbalances through monetary systems. So we are approaching, we are in the age of Pluto and Aquarius. We are being transformed through our consciousness, the new infrastructure of our minds. There's new light coming. We're being spored instead of germinated through a seed, perhaps. So, it's such a profound, pivotal point in history in our human evolution. If and I'm here for it. You're here for it. Anybody that's here with this channel is here for it, and we're willing to do things different. We've got to drop what we think we know. I call it stop, drop, and roll. Right? Stop what you're thinking and believing. Drop into your heart, which is really where our inner knowing is, and then roll into the next experience. And it's only happening in the now. That's why this particular astrology channel doesn't look so much to the past, because I know there's some astrologers that are talking about this Mars in Capricorn configuration, that the last time Mars was in Capricorn with this, there was war. I don't believe that, because war, again, we've got this three-eye atlas that's this sort of third body solution instead of the third body problem. And I invite you to look into science what that is. There's actually a great show on Netflix called The Third Body Problem. It has this big eye that opens up. Anyway, there's so much correspondences to media, to movies. This is also very Pisces. This is how I connect to consciousness. So check out that series if you have it on Netflix, The Third Body Problem. This is also the Third Eye Atlas Solution, which is being willing to regrid how you think and perceive your reality. And again, just by dropping into your heart, into your own inner knowing, into your own inner gnosis. And then the stop, drop, and roll is rolling into the next now moment through a new periphery, which is going to eliminate these old structures, these old belief systems about the past. Again, our relationship with the past and Saturn is dissolving. It's being restructured, reformatted. The scaffolding of old belief systems have fallen away, and there's a new simultaneously. It's like the new and the old. There's new scaffolding approaching. And I feel like that's what this third eye Atlas energy is bringing into all of us. So anyway, I just wanted to invite you, anybody that's watching, that's connecting to this, to invite you into an exploration through ritual, through really being quiet, through really paying attention to your thoughts, perhaps journaling, writing it down, lighting a fire. I love fire gazing because that also activates the pineal. If you study Zach Bush's stuff, and he talks about this, about staring at the sacred fire, that you can actually, that activates the pineal gland, which activates, again, the new scaffolding of thought and perception. So working with fire medicine, writing down intentions. Again, this is, we talk about the new seed point in astrology, but what if this is the new mycelium, the new spore of consciousness, and it's through the breath, right? Because spores, they travel through the air, which is very much also had to do with Aquarius. So breathing techniques, right? I love to work with the breath of fire, especially when the moon is transiting during a fire sign, the elemental, right? Or the lion's breath, where you stick your tongue out and you breathe, and you just keep, and you just invoke in that the spirit of fire through your breath, because breath is spirit, breath is life. Breath is the closest to God that I have found within me, that really just, when you tune into the energy of your own breath, there's a whole mysticism attached to that as well. So anyway, I just wanted to share some of these sort of cosmic contemplations, considerations, ways of perceiving yourself and the universe and the other, and perhaps a different periphery. And this is what the astrology here is about. And if you like any of this content, if you're willing to explore perhaps like the psychology or the psyche of astrology in this way, I would invite you to follow, like, subscribe, share this with somebody who likes this type of storytelling, this type of consciousness, again, willing to step out of the box of our own periphery and to step into our own inner knowing, just using the language of astrology, which I find is a very neutral language. It helps you to explore in a very dynamic way. We're also building our community. So we're on Discord every Tuesday from 6:30 to 7:30. We're talking about these cosmic conversations. We're building up other, visionaries, people who are exploring themselves through this particular lens, that we are all deeply connected, and that there is nothing that's happening outside of you that's not coming from deeply within. So this is an explorative conversation journey, and to just make us feel more empowered, to allow us to really participate in this consciousness, perhaps in a way we've never got to participate before. So thank you so much for being here, family. Thank you so much for joining this conversation. And thank you, Illumination Portal, for being here and conversing. I really love this. I really love being able to connect in this way because we're not meant to do this life alone. We're meant to help each other and to speak our truth, even if it feels weird or unconventional. This is what this Aquarian age is asking for, your unique expression, your own individuated unique expression. And you never know who it can connect to and who will allow somebody to connect to themselves in this whole new way. So this is the exploration. This is the conversation. Thank you so much for being here. And I'm looking forward to our next journey together through this consciousness of the psyche of astrology. All right, guys, thank you so much. I love you, and I'll see you next time. And thank you, Illumination Portal, for being here and sharing your words. It really, I love it. I love being able to connect in this way. All right, guys, so much love. See you next time. Bye.